Meanwhile, this half hour, welcoming to the studio Jamie Stuck, the chair of the Tribal Council of the Notawaseppi Huron Band of Potawatomi. Of course, they work closely with Firekeepers Casino and here in town as well on various projects. Jamie, it's nice to see you today.
Good morning, sir. How are we doing?
I am well. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Boy, first of all, I have to say, we've taken a tour recently of the Fire Hub and how that's coming along, and what an exciting venture that is. And I'll tell you what, when we go there and we post something about it, people are clicking on it. They're very interested in that. Congratulations on that project.
Yeah, appreciate it. We always have promoted community outreach, and with Chef Mike McFarland, this is a good initiative done with a good heart, and looking forward to the opening of the Fire Hub.
Yeah,
that's
well,
for sure.
You're not the only one. Yeah, there's quite a few of us who are looking forward to that.
We've had the opportunity to do a little sample tasting, and the area is going to be very surprised with the cuisine that comes out of the Fire Hub.
Ooh, intrigue.
Yeah.
More intrigue. Can't wait. Okay, good. We're going to talk a little bit about the whole notion of high school mascots and potentially changing those. And you've done some things with revenue sharing, at least you're discussing it, that would help in that area. And we'll talk about that as we go along this morning. But let's talk about, for folks who don't understand, what the arrangement is with revenue sharing. So Firekeepers is situated here. There's a revenue sharing situation. This is the way things generally are worked out with the state.
Yes, sir. With our state compact, 2% goes to the local revenue sharing board as far as the gross slot win. And then anywhere between 6 to 8% of that also goes to the state. Mm-hmm. So what we are able to provide the local revenue sharing board, the Firekeepers local revenue sharing board, is a separate set aside that we do just locally. And then the 6 to 8% that goes to the state goes to the strategic fund.
Okay.
And then, with our newly amended compact, the strategic fund's able to take $500,000 and distribute it into a account for the Native American Heritage Fund.
Well, this is a huge effort that is underway, and that's the compact agreement that you've negotiated. But obviously, those numbers could fluctuate, couldn't they?
Yes, sir. Every year we have other. Don't want to really necessarily use the word threat, but it's sometimes you have threats with other initiatives, other off-reservation initiatives. Right now you have one in Lansing, one in Romulus. You have a tribe up in the UP that's trying to come down in the Aboriginal territory of our market, as well as the Saginaw Chippewa tribes market. And anytime that you have a little bit of saturation in the market, it's going to affect the operation of Firekeepers if these initiatives are successful. And so we remain steadfast on making sure that we not only preserve our market, but there's other issues that are in there, like I stated, the Aboriginal territory issue and protecting our exclusivity area. So if you have 4 more new casinos that pop up here in this area, it will definitely be a detriment to the amount of money that we're able to provide the local revenue sharing board as well as the state.
Mm-hmm. And we'll talk more about that when we come back in just a minute with Jamie Stuck, Tribal Council Chair with the Notawaseppi Huron Band of Potawatomi. This half hour on WBCK. 95.3 WBCK. Jamie Stuck with us this half hour, the chair of the Tribal Council, Notawaseppi Huron Band of Potawatomi, here talking about revenue sharing and other things at Firekeepers. It's interesting what you said, that and this makes sense, the more competition you have, maybe the less revenue sharing there'll be. Do you work with other councils and talk about territory at all?
We do. As I stated before, we do work with the Saginaw Chippewa tribe. They're up in Mount Pleasant. Mm-hmm. We're active with them as far as any initiatives that are pursuing off-reservation gaming. And I do want to be clear, as far as as opposing those initiatives, if you're playing by the rules and you're operating within your state compact, we don't have an issue. Mm-hmm. It's when people try to operate outside those state compacts and maneuver in a way that's not playing fair to the game. Yeah. Then we'll have the opposition out on the table and and do what we can to oppose those initiatives.
Is the compact that you have with the state of Michigan relatively similar to those in other states? Is it similar, or is it different than other states?
I can't say it's similar as far as different states. What I can point out is that you have 12 federally recognized tribes in the state of Michigan, and there's one common thing in all of our compacts, which is a Section 9 clause, is what they say. And what that involves is, if you want to pursue off-reservation gaming, you have to get together with the other tribes, get their permission, and sit down at the table and figure out revenue sharing and all that. A lot of the times when tribes do pursue off-reservation gaming, they're not getting the input from the other tribes and sitting down and negotiating revenue sharing with those other tribes. So again, it just comes back to complying with your state compact, and we've kept our promise and to the state and to the local revenue sharing board, and we expect other tribes to do the same.
You can see how it might stimulate an era of non-cooperation were that to not happen.
Right.
So a discussion has taken place, and I think there's some movement as well on the notion that some of the local revenue sharing funds could go to assist school districts who might want to change their mascot. This has been something that gets news coverage fairly often in different areas. The notion that a name that has been chosen as a mascot name years and years ago is now viewed in a different light than it used to. And I presume that you've looked at this and said, well, there could be stumbling blocks for a district to want to change that because there's costs involved.
Yeah, you're right. And, as far as practice, we've kind of sat back and waited for this Native American Heritage Fund to kind of come to fruition. That way that we're just not pointing out issues. We're providing a solution. We haven't taken a stance against an official stance, I should say, as far as local schools and mascots that may be deemed inappropriate or culturally insensitive, whether it be with the name or with the imagery that's coming along with it. We have taken a stand against the Washington, D.C. Redskins. But, as we move into the local area, it's kind of hard because, you have the Athens Indians. A lot of our tribal members have either graduated from there or went to school there, and not much issue with the Athens Indians. Again, we work in collaboration with them as far as the imagery, making sure it remains respectful. And Athens is usually pretty good as far as how they conduct themselves with other school districts, is educating them what's appropriate as far as when you're at a game or anything like that. Sometimes you may see the tomahawk chop and Joe Hubenbecker's been pretty good about educating other superintendents about that. Hey, that's inappropriate or whatnot. But when it came to the Paw school district issue, I was able to speak on behalf of the NHBP, is just providing information on the Native American Heritage Fund. What happens a lot of the time, like you said, when you do change the mascot, there's a lot of things that you don't think of that incur costs. It could be apparel, letterhead. It could be gymnasium floors, scoreboards, stuff like that this adds up. And even when a school district is willing to change a mascot or the imagery that accompanies that, they don't have the funds to make the full change. So this fund will help out any K through 12, whether it's public or private, universities, and doing so. And not just that, but helping out with educating the state of Michigan as far as the appropriate history of the Native American tribes of Michigan.
And we'll talk a little bit more about how that works here in just a moment on 95.3 WBCK. We're here with Jamie Stuck for a few more minutes, chair of the Tribal Council of Notawaseppi Huron Band of Potawatomi, of course, operators at Firekeepers Casino. So we've been talking about local revenue sharing and the notion of providing a fund to which a school district could apply if they want to have some financial assistance with changing their mascots. So this would be an application process, right?
Yes. Yep. So, first, within the state compact amendments, eligibility is established. So again, education's the key here as well, even more importantly so than the mascot issue, because the more you educate people on the Native American history and culture and traditions, it may allow people the opportunity to see why certain imagery and certain mascots could be deemed as offensive. So really want to highlight on the funding and eligibility. So new or improved curricula and educational resources that are related to Michigan history as far as it pertains to Native Americans. And then you have, any initiatives that promote mutual respect and cooperation between local communities and Michigan's 12 federally recognized tribes and Native American populations. And then the initiatives by eligible schools to replace or revise mascots and imagery, which may be deemed as offensive to Native Americans, convey an inaccurate representation of Native Americans and their culture. So those are some of the pinpoints that we like to highlight as far as eligibility. What has to happen now is we have to enter into an interlocal agreement with the state of Michigan. Tribe has to sign off on that, and then they'll be able to appoint the board members for the Native American Heritage Fund Board. So you'll have 2 representatives from the tribe, 2 representatives from the governor's office, and then the Civil Rights Department director or his or her designee will be able to send on that board as well. So what I envision, it's probably going to be something similar to like what we do with the Firekeepers Local Revenue Sharing Board. We have a process that's guided by bylaws. You get the bylaws in place. That helps out with the application process and how money is distributed. So still in the starting blueprint stages right now, but definitely getting some progress. We're progressing a little bit and moving forward to that interlocal agreement and getting signed and agreed upon by both the tribe and the state, so that we can get that board established and then start out with the proper procedures as far as how the money is going to be distributed.
All right. So as you've talked about this, Jamie, and how this would be organized, do you see this process being one in which the board is simply accepting applications from districts that want to do this, or is there a component of it that actually is active in going to districts and saying, have you considered changing because this could be potentially offensive?
Right. I think it's going to be, as we start this process out, definitely going to be something where people apply or, just have inquiries as far as what the process is like. Right now you do have Belding, who did change their mascot. So they're probably going to be one of the first districts to kind of be able to, to benefit from this fund. It's only, I hate to say it, but it's only $500,000, and those costs do add up. So I'm not sure, what they'll do as far as capping it per district, how they'll go about that. But a lot of different districts that do have what could be deemed as offensive mascots and imagery have been contacting us, with questions.
Okay.
So it's a lot of outreach from community members, both native and non-native. So it's been a really good response since this has been approved.
As is the case often with social change, there are some folks who are quicker than others to understand what the foundation of this is. Some people listening now might say, what's the big deal? How do you respond to that?
Well, I guess, when it comes, to me and being Anishinaabe and, representing my people, it's just a matter of, you hear a lot, well, should be an honor. You should be honored. And, I guess it all comes back to how do you define honor and how is this honoring the Notawaseppi?
Right.
Is it historically correct? Is it culturally correct? So, too often, you have 566 different tribes in the United States of America, and you can't lump us all together. Just within the state of Michigan, you have 12 different federally recognized tribes. We have different constitutions. We have similar but different languages, similar but different history. But again, even though you have the Pokagon Potawatomi just west of us, we're still different. We're a different band of Potawatomi, and it's just kind of hard to lump us all into one. And a lot of it comes back to historic correctness as far as how it's portrayed, and is it historically correct, and is it honoring in a true sense of being honored. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of way I try to look at it. If a person that maybe on the other side of the fence would like to just kind of say their opinion, it always kind of comes back to that. Well, how do you think this honors the NHBP?
Okay. So, Jamie, is there a timeline that you're expecting to see this board come together?
I hate to put timelines on things, but I was able to speak with Dave Nyberg. He's the governor's liaison between the tribes of Michigan and the governor. Had a conversation with him last week, and he's looking to get that interlocal agreement to hit our desk here within the next month or so. So hopefully,
pretty quick then.
Hopefully we can get it going. And then, as far as where we go from there, I'm not sure how that timeline is going to look as far as getting the board members appointed, and then moving forward with the bylaws or any other procedures that would guide the application and distribution process. So, but I'm looking forward to getting that interlocal agreement on our desk, and hopefully we can get that approved by our tribal council and move forward.
All right. Well, as those details come to fruition, feel free to come back and tell us about the progress you've made.
I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate the time you've given us today.
Thank you.
Jamie Stuck, the chair of the Tribal Council, Notawaseppi Huron Band of Potawatomi, here with us this half hour on WBCK.